Welcome to the Documentation of Contract Quantities course. This is the Specific Task Training Program with IDOT, Class S14 for fiscal year 2024. We will be using the 2022 Spec book for class, so make sure you have your copy of the 2022 Spec book handy. Recommended experience for class: 1 year of IDOT construction experience. Why do we recommend 1 year of experience? We're going to jump right in with IDOT terminology right out of the spec book, items that you'll find on IDOT contracts. We need to have a basic knowledge of algebra and geometry. Yes, we're going to do math. I know math is a 4-letter word, but hopefully we'll make it your friend by the end. We need to calculate areas and volumes. When we're out in the field, what is the number one unit of measure that we take in the field? The one we take most often? By the foot, right? We've got a tape measure or a long wind-up tape, and we're making lineal foot measurements. And some of our payments are in areas or volumes. So we need to know, we need to take 1, 2, 3 different measurements and calculate it in an area or a volume. We need to be able to convert that into our pay units. So let's say we're measuring in feet, we calculate some square feet, but our pay unit is in square yards. We need to know how to convert that into square yards. We do have some longer formulas that we use for some of our adjustments where order of operations will become important. And in our doc guide, we will show you some helper with the math so we can all get through this. This video is an example of how to use timestamps within a YouTube video. We have provided you with numerous stamps at certain topics or points in the video where it's nice to be able to go back to and review, such as when we look at our class materials. You can pause the video and jump back to the start of a topic at any time. You'll want to scroll down to the description panel of our video, click Show More, and you will see our timestamps. This is an example I found off YouTube so I could show you how to do it. If we start our video, we're playing along. Here I can click here, that's fine. But if I want to go to a specific topic, I click the timestamp and it takes me to that time. I want to go back, it takes me to that time in the video. These are a very useful tool as you navigate our video modules. Next, let's talk about the certification exam, the class materials and how to get them so you have them in front of you during these videos, and the IDOT Standard Spec Book in electronic format. The certification exam is an electronic format online or at a physical testing site. It is open book, open notes. You have a 2.5-hour time limit. Test results will be emailed within approximately 10 business days after your testing period ends. Upon successful completion of the exam, a score of 70 or higher, you will receive 14 PDHs that will be printed on your certificate. The certification exam is primarily multiple choice and true-false questions. It covers all the materials discussed and or provided in this course. Approximately 25% of the exam covers the IDOT specifications and the proper application of the procedures. The rest of the exam consists of problems that are similar to the class examples found in the workbook, using proper pay items, proper pay units, square foot versus square yard, using the proper calculation of various areas and volumes, max pay and specification procedures that are covered, such as what is paid, what is not paid, what do we measure for payment, and how it is measured. Let's go find copies of our class materials. In my browser bar, I'm going to search for the Illinois Center for Transportation. There we go. Click that one. Here we have the link to the home page. You can go right to doc, but I'm just going to show you the home page real quick. Click on that link. And here we have the Illinois Center for Transportation, or ICT webpage. Under Outreach, right here, you can see we have the documentation of contract quantities. We're going to click that link. This is the home page for the doc class. Up top, we can see we have course materials, some course instructions, schedule and registration, and also frequently asked questions and responses to those questions. Let's go click the course materials. At the top here, you can see these are the items that are needed for the self-study that go along with these video modules, and down here are your video modules. The 4 items that we're most interested in on this web page are these right here: the doc appendix, the doc guide, the doc synopsis, and the doc workbook. Make sure you're finding the ones that are the most current versions. They will be the ones listed on our website. Let's get a copy of the synopsis. We click that link and it will bring up a PDF file in the browser. Here we have one of 4 pages. So we have 4 pages right down here. In order to save a copy of this one, you can either print it or you can save it. And at least in my browser, that's what it looks like. You should be able to download yours in another browser. You can keep a copy on your personal computer. The synopsis is basically a table of contents for class. We will present the items chronologically as these 4 pages flow throughout these video modules. The synopsis is also a good lookup guide later on, say maybe during the certification exam, where you're looking for a specific topic and maybe we're talking about a contract and we want to find our references to where those contract items are described. We have Article 10109 in the Spec book, and we also have Appendix pages 13 through 20. Very quick to go to your synopsis and find where you need to get information to answer those questions. One really great thing about PDFs is the search feature or the find feature. On your keyboard, press and hold Control and then the letter F, and it brings up a box. You can see I've already used it. I searched for the word traffic. When I punch that in, it highlights every word in your PDF document that you searched for. So let's say I'm looking for maximum payment. Maximum, and then I press enter. Here we have maximum payment. The search feature is very, very quick to find items that you're looking for. It does take a little bit of practice to type in the right word, maybe narrow your search down, but it will help you speed through your lookup of other items, especially during the exam. Let's go get a copy of the current IDOT standard specifications for road and bridge construction. Go to my browser, type in IDOT Spec book. I didn't even spell it right, but it knows what I'm looking for. Standard specifications right here. Here we go. The IDOT webpage, doing business, standard specifications. Right down here, you can see the most current full specification book, adopted January 2022. That's the one we're using for the class right now. Below that, you can see the supplemental and recurring special provisions. We're going to click on the 2022 standard specifications. It will bring up a PDF in our web browser. It's a big one. There we go. The standard specifications for road and bridge construction as of January 1st, 2022. Yay. We do have a table of contents, which is really nice. You can flip between different sections of the spec. You can pop one open and look at, let's say, the control of work. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see right here we've got everything we need. And right down here, a little bit later, you'll learn about the hierarchy of the contract documents. Really easy. You can use your save button and save a copy to your computer. Again, I love the Control F feature in the spec, and I can look up various items and it will find all the words related to traffic, which I typed in there and pressed enter. It's still finding them. Use the down key, it'll highlight to the next one location that talks about traffic. Here I am, I'm way down here already. All right, get your copy. Now that we've obtained a copy of our class materials, we're going to talk about each one a little bit. The synopsis, which is a table of contents for our class, the documentation guide or doc guide, the appendix, and last but not least, the workbook. Here we have the documentation synopsis. our table of contents for class. If you note the tabs at the top here in my Adobe PDF Reader, we have renamed the download files so that it's easier if you have a tabbed system to note which document you're in at any one time or which one to click on to go to the next one. The Synopsis is a great tool, particularly useful during your certification exam. Finding the information is one of the most critical tasks that you can learn. Where do I go to look up that information? This Synopsis is grouped by content, and at the end of that content we have a reference to where you can find that information, either in the appendix, the workbook, maybe it's in the Spec book, Article 105.05. I'm scrolling down and I want to know about the progress schedule. What is it? Where can I find information about it? I can go to Article 108 in the Spec book and look up exactly what IDOT says about the progress schedule. I can see an example in the appendix. Very useful tool as we go through class. Here we have the official IDOT documentation guide. It is part of the construction manual and is used frequently in the field as a reference for what documents do I need, where do I document certain items such as measurements, quantities, events of the day, what instruments and tools do I have. It lays the groundwork and foundation for everything we're doing and seeing in the field and getting it documented so that we can get the best product for the best price and also do it within our requirements so we can keep our funding. Here we go. Here's the doc guide. Once again, we can use these buttons to navigate pages back and forth. Pretty easy. Scrolling as well. One of the nice things again is that find feature. If I use Control F, brings up my find box and we can find all kinds of good things. The doc guide is broken up into several sections. They are lettered A, B, C, D, E, and F. As we go through class, and you'll see some of the slides that we pull up in the presentation, you'll find a reference. It may say A3, and I'm talking about being on page A3 in the doc guide, right down here at the bottom. You can see I'm on page A3. This is where that Control F or find box, if I say we're going to be on page A15 looking up some information, I go Control F, I do A-15, hit enter. There I am. I'm on page A15. What is on this page? Page A15 contains maximum payment. As we progress farther in the book, section B, let's take a look at that. I'm going to do this really easy and go section B. Bing, there I am. I love this find feature. It's awesome. In section B, if we scroll down a couple pages, I'm going to use this one. Here we go. It's all about pay units. These tables are put together in the boxes. Will highlight a single pay unit, and I'm talking about right up here where it says acres. That's a pay unit. I could have different types of construction, seeding, mulching, tree removal, all kinds of different construction activities paid under a certain type of unit. Calendar day, we have traffic control surveillance. Maybe you have traffic control signage, the message boards as a calendar day. If we scroll down, zoom in a little bit, here we have cubic yards. Many topics under cubic yards. Trench backfill, structure excavation, concrete structures. We'll talk about some of these as we go through as examples. Each, lump sum, all different kinds of pay units. Paid by the foot, paid by the gallon. Here we go, paid by the hour, paid by the time, pound, ton, square foot. You're getting the idea. We will go through examples of each one of these, and you can see here in this column where we have our references to section F of the doc guide. That will show us either an inspector daily report, IDR, or maybe a field book entry, possibly a spreadsheet. The middle column of the doc guide is the accuracy of measurement. These are minimums. Minimum accuracy to be recorded in your source documents, on your field books, and also in the quantity book. Be careful. You may see some that have these asterisks on them. They have notes that tell us there's an individual measurement or a daily quantity accuracy that we need to calculate to. Looking at square feet, square yards. We are individual areas to the 0.1 square foot or 0.1 square yard. But it tells us that each individual dimension that we measure must be to the nearest tenth of a foot. So be careful. Check that middle column. Can I be more accurate? Is it possible I could give an answer that goes to 2 decimal places for square yards, say 10.35? Yes, we can do that. We can be more accurate if we want to. These minimum accuracies go back to the days when we used primarily manual quantity books, and transferring those digits over and over and over again just led to mistakes that were made along the way. In this day and age, we're using electronic methods, so it's a lot easier for us to use more decimal places if we want to. The final column here on the right is the required documentation. Right there. Tells us how do we document the quantities we're measuring. Most of them are going to say field measurements and calculations used to calculate the final quantity. We could use a built according to plan detail sheet. We will discuss some of those when we talk about source documents. Our BC 981, that is our agreement to plan quantity. We might have depth checks. And if we have sidewalk, don't forget your cross slope verifications. As we scroll a little bit farther down, just looking at some of the items here, if there's a specific conversion for that type of unit, you will also see it here in this right-hand column. Moving on, let's go to section C. All right. Oh, I love this search feature. Section C. Here it is, section C. All right. As I'm popping through section C, I notice this is about evidence of material inspection. Right? Evidence of material inspection. We will go more in depth about this evidence. Why are we collecting evidence of inspection? Maybe I should back up a little bit. Why are we inspecting these materials at all? We have to make sure that they're meeting the standard specifications, our project contract special provisions. Maybe it's in the plans. We have some requirement for this material, and we're going to collect some evidence that shows somebody else, right? Here we go, certifications, marks. We're looking for these documents to prove to somebody else that we did our due diligence and these materials meet or exceed the specifications for this project. Section C here is a quick reference on how to look that up. We'll go a little bit more in detail when we get into section C. Here we go again. Section D. I just really like this search feature. Section D is a reference section. First few pages talk about estimating daily earth volumes with load counts. All right. Next couple pages, you can see different examples, which we'll go through in a bit. On page, here we go, D6. Page D6 starts with some math help. If it's been a while since you've looked at some of the math that we're going to do here in class, I am sorry, my scrolling is just too much. Here we've got order of operations. Maybe we have fractions we're working with. Next page, we've got how to calculate different shapes, areas. Because let's face it, when we're out there in the field, not everything is a square, triangle, rectangle, or a circle. We have odd shapes. We may have to break it up into different shapes in order to calculate an entire area. So we've given you some formulas here. On more pages, there are volumes. We don't have a lot of volumes that we calculate, and most of ours can either be rectangular, cuboid, or trapezoid type shapes, but the formulas are in here. There's more math. We're not going to get into trigonometry quite as much, calculating angles, but different shapes, definitely helpful. When we're reviewing our source documents, we may have to do some checking. If we are looking at someone else's work, we're checking formulas, we're checking various data. That recommendations are right here. Here's some commonly miscalculated shapes. This is the type of shape I'm talking about. In order to calculate this shape, I can't average the two sides and multiply them together. Math just doesn't work that way, right? Don't do it. I have to break it up into a triangle and a trapezoid. These types of areas we might have for seating or sodding are definitely different Shapes, we have to break it up. I calculate this shape, then I would calculate this shape, and the final shape. Add them all together. Moving on to section E. Oh, I forgot, at the end of section D, we do have some common conversions, right? When we're out there in the field, the most common unit of measure that we take, think about it for a minute. What is the most common unit of measure? We take it many times in a day. Lineal feet, right? We're taking a foot measurement. We get our tape out, we're stretching it here, and we go, hey, it's 5 feet this way, and I measure another length, and I get 10 feet that way, and maybe it's an area, and I have to multiply them together. That could be square feet. But what if the pay unit is square yards? I might have to convert, and then I can look right here and see, whoops, here we go. 1 square yard equals 9 square feet. So if I wanted to convert to square yards, I would take my square feet, divide by 9. Another common one is cubic yards. I'm going to measure and calculate in cubic feet, and I got to divide my answer by 27 in order to get my cubic yards. When we're working with HMA materials, typically we're paid by the ton or square yard, but if we're by the ton, it might be measured by pounds at the scale, so I have to convert back and forth. Very handy page that I can use to convert my units. Section E is all about trench backfill. You will probably become very familiar with this page. If you've ever calculated the quantity for trench backfill, it is this hatched area above the midpoint of the pipe up to my subgrade. It is an irregular shape, and with the help of some guidance of some equations, if I have a certain width of trench, then I can use these tables that are back here. These tables allow me to pull off an individual factor, say this square, multiply it by a length, and it will automatically compute my cubic yards. These cell values are in units of cubic yards of trench backfill per lineal foot of storm sewer or of trench. All right, I'm using various factors. We'll get into that as we talk about trench backfill. Moving on, next section, I'm going to be really thrifty here and say, hey, next section is F. Last one on the dot guide. In this section, you will find the majority of the examples that we have in class. And just to show you, there is a table of contents, an index that shows you what is on page F1. All right. The next page is the same index, but it's alphabetical by subject matter. So if you're flipping through this as a printed document, it might be easier to find it that way. You can always use your find feature, and I want to find concrete. Here we go. Concrete computation summary. Next, outlets, structures, estimating, field book. Here we go. PC, concrete sidewalk. Great to use that find feature. But as we're going through section F, you can search again, hopefully, on the section F. So let's try that. Control F. I'm going to go to F41. Oh, nope, doesn't work. Look, we found a problem. In section F, you are not able to search on the page numbers. This is a quirk of developing those pages as PDFs, and they were cut and pasted into this whole document. So, since we can't do that, we will have to manually scroll through section F. Let's try it again. Here we go. All right. But you can find the page numbers at the bottom. The next time we do a video for the dot class, we'll get that fixed for everyone out there. Here we have the documentation appendix, or the appendix as we like to call it. When we reference this in the slides, you will see it'll be called appendix page and then have a number after it. Cool thing about the appendix, we do have a table of contents. The table of contents here shows us what's on each different page or sets of pages. If you look and flip straight through the book, it won't make a whole lot of sense. This is a collection of reference material that the DOT class instructors felt were referenced more often, more handy to have with you at a moment's notice, some excerpts from memorandums, some other additional information that we felt was very helpful as you're trying to perform documentation in the real world. Whoa, wrong way. Here we go. The great thing about the appendix is you can search for page numbers. Again, Control Find. And let's say I'm going to find page 34. It is important that you type in page 34, otherwise you'll find everywhere that the number 34 comes up. Here we go, appendix page 34. As an example, if I click only 34, it's going to find every place that there is a 3 and a 4 together, which would take you a long time. So instead of that, I'm going to type in page 115. Here we go. Let's see, lowercase, page 32. Hey, that works too. Awesome. All right. The appendix, collection of items used in class, as you can flip back and forth as we do so in the video. Last but not least, the documentation workbook. We will refer to it as just a workbook in the videos. This document contains example problems of concepts we will teach in class dealing with calculations of quantities and payments, and maybe some contract admin questions about documents, which control that type of exercises. And as we look here in the first couple pages, we do have a table of contents for the workbook. And each page will tell you exactly what type of problem we will be working on. Here's a really cool thing about the workbook. On about page 26 and beyond, you have answers. So yes, solution to workbook page 5, that would be the answer or step-by-step solution to a thickness determination problem. As we go through class, you can pause the video when we bring up workbook pages. You can work on those pages, and we will go through step-by-step answers following that time period. So you will definitely want to pause the video, give yourself time to work on the problem, then continue the video, and we will look at the solutions. I highly recommend do not go straight to these solutions and try to find the answer and just read through it and follow along. When it comes to your certification exam, if all you've done is just look through the solutions, it's really easy to look through a solution and go, oh yeah, I understand how that works. And then you see a word problem and you don't know the mechanics or the methods for figuring out how to work those problems. I recommend struggle through them a little bit, right? Go back, watch the video again where we talk about that certain subject matter. Try to work these problems out, and then we will go through solutions. But guess what? When you do come and take your certification exam, you have the problems, you will have the solutions with you. It is open book, open notes when we get to that exam. Just flip through, show you a couple pages, little preview. Looks pretty cool. All right, I'm ready to get going. How about you guys?